We're in the 2024 Mazda 3 sedan. This is the Turbo Premium Plus model, which comes in over $36,000 after destination. Is this aging compact sedan from Mazda worth that chunk of change? Today we'll find out. It all starts under the hood. Underneath the hood, 2.5 liter Skyactiv G Turbo, 250 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. That is if you're going to put 93 octane in here. If you just run the regular, it's going to get you around 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Made it exclusively to a 6-speed automatic, as well as exclusive all-wheel drive on this turbo model. However, don't think you need to get performance with this engine only. The base engine still has a respectable 191 horsepower, made it to a 6-speed auto. You can still get all-wheel drive on the base 2.5 liter naturally aspirated setup as well. And for you manual enthusiasts out there, you can get on the, I think it's the premium hatchback model, you can still get that manual transmission here. Closing this very heavy hood, this Mazda 3 is built in Mexico, but the build quality here is still very impressive. Now this Premium Plus has it all. We have parking sensors up front, we have 360 camera. As we come to the side, we have beautiful 18-inch blacked out wheels here on the turbo. And for this price point, even though we have a nice sunroof up there, let me know if you guys would prefer a pano roof. But this vehicle is all about, I don't know, just kind of blending into the background and then having a lot of sport and performance and fun at the same time. This vehicle does not stand out. Does that mean it's ugly? Absolutely not. I think this is, as well as most of Mazda's designs, have aged extremely well. This vehicle, I want to say, has been out since around the late 2010s. I'll put exactly down below. It still looks extremely relevant with that Mazda Kodo design. Now you also have the hatchback. The hatchback is so uniquely designed, a lot of people might not enjoy it. And so here you go, you have the traditional 3-box sedan here that is so beautiful. As we come to the back here, we have a very subtle black spoiler on top of the trunk lid, Skyactiv G Turbo, dual exhaust, and then of course you have this nice all-wheel drive badge there. Lifting this up, we can fold the rear seats down. I did some grocery shopping with this week. It was plenty enough room. We have a spare tire in here that's going to be very good news for some of you guys out there, and pulled it shut. Now the trunk lid is super light and very easy to maneuver, unlike the hood. But let's go ahead and lock the doors when we get in the back. Now look how small that panel gap is there. My friend David Chow would probably say that's about a sub 3 millimeter panel gap. This one's a little bit bigger here, but still pretty impressive. And then coming to the front, a little bit bigger yet. So it's not the same distance on all 3 panel gaps there for the doors. It gets smaller the further back you go, but the doors still close very nicely, very impressively. It feels premium, like a premium build. All right, let's get in this really small back seat. Headroom, 6'1". I still have headroom back here. Armrest, yes, it has cup holders. And these seats, these leather seats, are very nice, very premium. I like how they're perforated, so you're not going to be sticking to them in the summer. Pretty much no legroom, especially with the drive shaft tunnel here. And I do not have vents or USBs in the back. Luckily, the AC, I can feel the air coming back here only at 3 fan speeds. So just because it doesn't have rear vents, it doesn't mean it doesn't have good AC and good circulation. I'm feeling plenty of AC here at 3 of 7 fan speeds, and the AC is really solid in here. So don't be worried that it doesn't have, you know, like rear vents. Premium materials here in the back, soft touch here. I was in a Lexus UX a couple weeks back, and that was hard touch if I remember right on the back door. Mazda here having nicer materials than a Lexus UX. A nice glossy black panel here separating the windows, looks pretty nice. All right, nice materials up here, Bose sound system with aluminum speaker grille. We don't have auto folding mirrors. I wish I would have had that for the price that this comes in. It does have a head-up display. It does have this new 10-inch screen, 10.25 inch, which is only available, to my understanding, on the turbo models. And it does have wireless Android Auto going on. And I'm able to just charge my phone back here while it wirelessly transmits to the screen. Now, it is also a touch screen, which is pretty nice. I haven't tested it while driving. I would have to get out of my seat to get to it. So it's definitely not set up to be a touchscreen, and that's why you have the rotary dial here. However, the rotary dial is really set up for Mazda's base software. So getting into Mazda's base software, yeah, it hasn't changed in a long time. It takes a little getting used to, but I've been in so many Mazdas over the years that getting into here, playing with the settings, it's very easy and natural to do. Even messing with the radio stations, it doesn't take that long to figure out. But if you want to get straight into Android Auto, you just press up on this and it goes straight on to over to Android Auto, which is pretty cool. All right, traditional shifter here. I mean, really the interior has not changed other than this 10-inch screen. Materials are still super nice, soft touch dash, stitching here. These seats, they are not ventilated, unfortunately. We have heated seats and heated steering wheel, but we do not have ventilated seats. Again, for this price point, I would have been wanting to see that. We do have a 360 camera here, pretty high resolution. Oh, and don't forget about the memory seats on the driver's side as well. Traditional analog gauges, well, I should say analog on the tachometer as well as the fuel gauge and temperature. The middle is actually digital speedometer, but it looks like an analog gauge. It's really, really classic and minimal as well as appealing. I don't like having too much going on here in Mazda, even though it has a big I think it's a 7-inch screen here. They have a physical bezel around a digital display to make it classical and appealing as possible. I also have rain sensing wipers here, which is definitely going to be unique to this Premium Plus. Oh, also, I forgot, we do have new USB-Cs for 2024. Again, these are your only USBs in the whole car. So you have 2 USB-Cs here, a little bit of cargo space, a little bit of felt at the bottom so things aren't jangling around. And unfortunately, we still have, as you can see, my Strider, my Husky hair, it comes with me everywhere. And so you absolutely see it on the glossy black. This car only has about 5,000 miles on it, and you already see some scratches here developing on this glossy black. So hopefully Mazda learns from this, and on their next generation Mazda 3, they will replace that with a better material. But let's start driving the Mazda 3 Turbo. Putting it into drive, getting out of the parking lot, this thing is actually really easy maneuver, and just like all Mazdas, they have an amazing steering feel. Some people might be a little bit too stiff for them. On certain models like the CX-50 has a notoriously stiff steering. But here on the Mazda 3, it feels awesome, the steering feel here. Happy to turn in, but you still get a good resistance in the wheel. Now with this 18-inch wheel, speaking of wheels, right? Luckily I have perfect roads. I remember driving this vehicle when I was still living in Nebraska in the pothole-ridden streets there, and I'm still scarred by hitting a pothole with the Mazda 3. Go, 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 go. There's one of its biggest competitors there. That's a previous generation Corolla. And this vehicle is, yes, it competes with the Corolla, but its base powertrain is so much better than the Corolla's. 6-speed auto, you have 191 horsepower. The base Corolla is front wheel drive only, CVT. Even though it's a true first gear, it's still a CVT. And then you also only have 169 horsepower. Now that has a 2-liter engine, this has a 2.5-liter. Now the trade-off is that more than likely the Toyota would be a little bit more fuel efficient. Honda's base, not as quite as impressive as this either, but a little bit more fuel efficient. Now what's interesting is that this turbo model comes in at a price that is really similar to the hatchback GR Corolla. Again, that, at least for now, that's 6-speed manual only, but it does have an amazing all-wheel drive system, has so much power, tons of torque. That's 300 horsepower. This powertrain, I would say, does compete with it to a certain extent. This feels so much heavier in the turns compared to a GR Corolla, especially nose heavy. This old 6-speed auto, while it's very satisfactory in its behavior, it is heavy. And so when you throw it around the turns, you feel a lot of that heft up front. I remember that being the case in the CX-30 Turbo as well. Now, I don't remember this on other Mazdas that I've driven ever. As I get onto the brakes here, the brakes on this particular sample, there's an initial bite, it's soft, and then you need more brakes, right? Then there's like this flat period happening with this brake pedal progression, and it really throws me off. So the predictability of this brake pedal on this model is not what I'm used to seeing on most Mazdas. So I don't know if it's just this particular sample. Now, this does have a sport mode, which I don't like driving in unless you just want to rattle off 0 to 60s. But like, yes, it's more responsive, but it really only has just a few gears to pick from. So your revs are unnaturally high most of the time in sport mode. It's going to kill any fuel economy that you may be working on. Speaking of fuel economy, I'm seeing around 27 miles per gallon. In town, it's going to be a little bit less than that. Now, the head-up display in here is super crisp. It is on the smaller end. It's very, very small, but at least I'm rewarded with super accurate crispness and easy to read speed as well as safety features. Safety features in here, it feels better than what it has been in the past though. So I don't know if they've updated that. And on the head-up display, it'll let me know like to put my hands on the steering wheel again. But it's actually doing a better job than I was expecting. So I don't know if they've updated it or it's just liking the conditions right now with no clouds and not going that fast. But overall, it's doing a pretty good job, which, like I said, I was not expecting. If I take it off cruise control, don't like expect the steering to do much in my experience. If you go over the line, you get a little bit of a like a warning, and it will buzz, but it doesn't. It does a little bit to pull you back in, but hey, a lot of people will probably just disable that if they don't like it. All right, let's give it some beans real quick. It sounds good. The torque is what's impressive here. Again, it doesn't rev that high. Red line is like 55. Well, on the tachometer it says around 6,000, but if I remember right, if you play with the paddle shifters, yeah, it went to about 5,600 and then shifted automatically up. So it's not the most like sporty powertrain. It is a perfect powertrain for city driving because you put that foot down and that 300 plus pound-feet of torque is there for you, and it is addicting. And then we get into the brakes. Once you get past a dead spot, they feel pretty good. And let's go ahead and put it into sport mode real quick. Yeah, I could benefit from having a couple extra gears, but you know what? I've always liked this 6-speed auto and everyday usability. I threw it under the bus at the beginning for being a little heavy, and it is definitely heavy, but it is punchy. So pedal down, it just goes. It doesn't have that many gears to pick from, so it just grabs one and rips. And when you have this much torque, you know, not having the perfect gear ratio doesn't matter as much. It just goes. So it's a very different car compared to the GR Corolla, the Civic Si even, maybe the Integra A-Spec Advance. It's a very different car. Those are definitely more enthusiast focused. This car doesn't handle as well as them. It does have all-wheel drive. I feel like this is honestly more of a gentleman's everyday driver. The Mazda 6 is gone, rest in peace, and this is the closest thing in their lineup. Very good materials, really nice selection of high-end electronics here with head-up display. Now you have this upgraded screen, and then you have tons of power and torque on tap for everyday use. It's not a vehicle for enthusiasts, I would say. If you want more of that enthusiast experience for this money, go get a GR Corolla or something else. But this is for someone who wants to fly underneath the radar, still have tons of power and torque, have all the features here, and have more of a luxurious experience with the nice materials. but you're not going to be getting flagged from the police or whatever due to you having a massive wing on the back or having hood vents or something like that. So I love this vehicle. It is priced very high in my opinion for this Turbo Premium Plus model. However, for 2024, they came in with another turbo model sedan, and I think you can also get on the hatchback, and that is the Carbon. Now in the past, the Carbon has only been on the non-turbo model, and you still can get it on the non-turbo, the Carbon. Now you can get a Carbon Turbo, and that's where it starts appealing maybe to more enthusiasts because it's around $32,000, somewhere around there, compared to this $37-ish thousand after destination. So the Carbon Turbo is for me the best pick if you want that performance. But if you still want a fun car to drive, go get a normal Carbon or go get the preferred model. I think that's what it is. The Select or the preferred model. Mazda just has so many trim levels, hard for me to get my head straight on them. But those are like, if you can get a Mazda 3 under $30,000, I think it's a good buy due to the materials, the build quality, and the fun you can have in here. But for fuel efficiency, Mazdas, they're just not there. They don't have a hybrid for the Mazda 3. The Civic now has a hybrid. The Corolla has a hybrid. If you want a little performance as well from a hybrid, you can get the Prius. And so it just has a lot of competition. But if you don't want any of that electrified stuff, which I know a lot of you don't, this is an old school turbocharged sleeper sedan, and I think a lot of people will still find merit in it, even though it's getting along in the tooth. Has it aged well? Absolutely. The design on the outside as well as the inside. The inside, this area is getting pretty dated, but the new screen helps, and the original design on this, since it came out with the materials and the overall layout, is pretty good overall, that it's been able to keep up with the competition. But I'm gonna end it there. What do you think? Let me know if you would want front wheel drive or all wheel drive. Would you be going for the 6-speed manual hatchback, or would you be going for a turbo hatchback or a turbo sedan? There's so many options with the Mazda 3 that it is quite overwhelming when you add in all their different trim levels as well. Long live the Mazda 3, and may Mazda return the Mazda 6 while we're at it, right? I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.